It's the 4th of August, and this is your News Bite brought to you by eNCA.com. I'm Marcel Gordon, and in your news today, police are investigating the death of a man run over by a water tanker in KZN. Gauteng's Education MEC laments the levels of crime at a Khutsong high school, and the Stormers serve up an all-black starter. The family of a man who was killed after being run over by a water tanker in Adams Mission in KZN is demanding justice. Residents there have been without running water for months after infrastructure was damaged in the 2022 floods. And 38-year-old Celani Zungu was reportedly trying to stop the delivery of water to a single household, calling for the tanker to supply the wider community. His brother Sakile explains what happened next and how he watched his brother being run over by the truck more than once.
Imoto ibikade lethela amanzi sho sikahle kahle kweminye yomakhelwane la ngaphezulu, and then umphakathi ngicabanga ukuthi nabo bebetshela ukuthi ulethele wonke umuntu because bazamile mhlawumbe bayivimbi ngoba bebetshethi yama emva kwalokho kube nokungazwani ke shuthi no driver nomphakathi okholele ekuthenini azagcine eseba pusha ke ngemoto bashayisa ke moto ngoba uqala uzamile umshayisi driver wabaleka bajodongeni wabe sihlehla mayibuye kwesibili ke ila iphumele khona isiphumela kulofethu ofethele ubesuka la igcikeni ngaleso sikhathi ephuthuma lapha phezulu phuthuma khona ukuthi siyobuka lapho ukuthi kwenzakalani ngoba besilandelana naye njengoba bekwenzeka lento so yena ubengaphambili la itruck iphumele khona truckini udriver wabe shayisa ke ngomshayisile kokuqala yami truck ngalesa besinde ukuthi nathi ayisakwazi samdonsa ke manje wabe sephinde eqhubekisa njengoba nibonile nasemavidweni.
Now, KZN police are investigating a case of culpable homicide. Officials say they're busy taking statements from eyewitnesses. Here's KZN police spokesperson Robert Nechunda.
The case is culpable homicide. It does not warrant an immediate arrest. Hence, we spoke to the driver, we took down his statement, and we continue to take more statements. As things stand, we don't have anything to arrest him for. But if something comes up during our investigation that warrants an arrest of anybody, we will do so.
The Madlanga Commission continues its focus on the beleaguered anti-corruption unit IDAC. On Tuesday, IDAC's Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Peter Serunye, insisted that Andrea Johnson, the former IDAC head, never selected a team for him. His statement directly contradicts claims that Johnson had handpicked the investigators for specific cases.
In the application that you submit, yes, and you say that because in the nature of an application which is approved by the ID, you say she could make recommendations or suggestions that include others. In your experience, has she gone so far as to specify who by name, not just include another two investigators or a prosecutor? Have you had that kind of experience?
I've never had such an experience, commissioners, but she would suggest, maybe looking at the balance of the team, that you still need another prosecutor, either a junior or a senior, without specifying a name, without recommending, include so-and-so. She would just advise, beef up your team, you still need another data analyst or this or that, but without specifying a name.
State Advocate Drushanta Ramsamy is expected to testify again later. Free meals, hitmen on speed dial, and murder. Just another school term at Badirile Secondary, described by Gauteng Education MEC Lebogang Maile as one of the most notorious in the Khutsong township. Police and education officials conducted a school search and seizure operation there. The cops confiscated knives, scissors, vapes, a panga, and drugs from pupils. There have been 10 serious cases involving pupils at the school reported since January of this year. Maile says anarchy will not be tolerated.
This is one of the schools that is very notorious. There are kids here who threaten teachers that they will call zamazamas and criminals to murder the educators. We've got kids here who are gangsters. Some of them, I've just checked their books. There is nothing. They are not coming to school. They are not learners. They come to school, some of them, just to eat the food which is meant for the learners, and they are not the learners. They come to school to terrorize other learners, to terrorize educators. There's been murder, for instance, in this school early this year, and that's how things have gotten out of control.
In Cape Town, Mayor Jordanelle Lewis has declared a formal dispute to force national government to devolve policing powers to the city. Cape Town is known as the gang capital of the country, and police have struggled for decades to fight the scourge, with shootings taking place daily. Here Lewis says if mediation efforts fail, he has no hesitation in heading to court. The mayor believes Metro Police and LEAP officers there have better investigative capabilities.
We do not have the powers, or Metro Police officers in South Africa do not have the power to investigate crime. So they can do patrols, they can arrest criminals, they can stop crime if they see it happening in the process. But after that, they have to make that arrest and hand the person over to SAPS, and that is where their job starts and ends. And SAPS has to take over the investigation and make sure that that person gets to court and hopefully gets a conviction. Except that we know that that does not happen. In the huge majority of cases, the case falls by the wayside. It falls off the desk because it isn't properly investigated. And so we get what I've called before the catch and release criminal justice system, where the officers are arresting the same people over and over and over again. And that is deeply frustrating, and it stops us from actually making progress in violent crime. If you are arresting someone with an illegal firearm and that person spends 3 or 4 days in prison and then they're back on the street, that is not progress. So if we can investigate those cases ourselves, we can make sure that those people get convicted. Our officers are arresting people with illegal guns every single day. And only 5% of those cases actually lead to guilty convictions. 95% of our illegal firearms arrests, the person is back on the street. That is unacceptable.
Now, don't forget, fuel prices will be adjusted at midnight on Tuesday. Petrol will decrease, but diesel users are in for another hike. And economists are wary of this latest development. Diesel is, of course, used to transport road freight, for electricity generation and more. And refined diesel is also harder to come by, which is why diesel prices have spiked more than petrol during the ongoing Middle East war. Here's Viv Govender from Rand Swiss.
People must understand that not all oil is the same. The oil from the Middle East tends to be really useful for making things like diesel, and diesel is a bit different from petrol. I mean, most consumers use petrol, but most businesses are using diesel for trucks, for ships, for generators, for tractors, etc. From farming equipment to construction equipment to major transport, shipping, etc. Diesel is the number one fuel. And I think it's really a problem going forward because, like I said, it's one of those things which is not as elastic in terms of its ability to adjust to supply changes as, for instance, petrol is. And that's going to result, I think, in probably higher increases than we'd like to see in the petrol market, considering the same level of restriction in supply. So I do think this is an ongoing problem. Even the US, for instance, which is the net exporter of energy, still has to import the fuel that's made to make, or the oil that's needed to make diesel, because they don't have that locally. And I think this is, like I said, going to be a huge issue going forward because we are likely to get to a point in the next, I think, couple of months where the reserve releases have to be cut down significantly.
In news from India, it's been more than a week since the youth-led Cockroach Junta Party suspended its protests after its main demand, the resignation of the education minister, was met. But the political fallout continues, with opposition lawmakers staging protests in Parliament. The controversy is also spread beyond the original medical college entrance exam scandal, with students in other states now protesting over alleged examination irregularities. eNCA's Rebecca Bundan reports from Mumbai on a student uprising which has blindsided Prime Minister Modi.
Although the CJP's protests have now ended, the issue remains politically charged, with opposition parties keeping up the pressure in Parliament. Proceedings were disrupted on Monday as opposition lawmakers demonstrated over alleged examination paper leaks and police action against students during the recent protests. These demonstrations came despite the government moving ahead with new legislation aimed at tackling exam fraud. Parliament last week passed a bill that would double the maximum jail term for those convicted of leaking examination papers to 10 years, while increasing the maximum fine to more than $1 million. But activists argue that tougher punishments alone won't restore confidence in India's exam system. The issue has become a major headache for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. In a social media video message, he said he forgives the misguided youth who abused him during the street protests. The Cockroach Janta Party led weeks of demonstrations, drawing thousands of young people angry over exam paper leaks and what they said was a lack of accountability. Its leaders are planning a strategy meeting this week to decide what comes next.
In other news, we're keeping an eye on. Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi believes the potential benefits of a new TB vaccine extends far beyond public health. As scientists are laying the groundwork for the possible rollout of the M72 vaccine, Motsoaledi says it would create jobs, grow the pharmaceutical sector, and position South Africa as a global supplier of the vaccine if it is successful. And the US-led Board of Peace has given in to Israel's demands on Gaza. It says Israeli forces will not withdraw from Gaza until Hamas is fully disarmed. It comes after talks between the board director and the Israeli Prime Minister. Hamas rejected the deal, but remains committed to the ceasefire. During the talks, Israel was urged to stop attacks on Gaza, which have continued unabated, even under a supposed ceasefire. On to the world of sports now. And Banyana coach Desiree Ellis knows only a victory will keep her side's women's AFCON campaign alive. They face a do-or-die showdown against Burkina Faso in Casablanca on Tuesday night.
All the games in the tournament are different, and this one is different as well, and it's a different challenge as well. They've come and they've showed, the quality, they've showed the organization, but we focus on ourselves. We know what we need to do. We need to win the game, and that is important, and we can only do what we can do. We cannot control anything else outside of that. So, we win the game with goals. We give ourselves 50% chance.
Now, Cape Verde really were the gift that kept giving during the recent FIFA World Cup. And one of their stars has continued to ride that wave. You'll remember their goalkeeper, Vozinha, whose towering performances during the team's historic World Cup run won him fans around the world. And he's in his 40s. And then there's the story of how his mum couldn't come and see him play because a US visa was turned down. Well, he's now earned himself a move to Chilean giants Colo Colo and had a hero's welcome to his new football home. On to rugby now, and Springbok assistant coach Dion Davids has warned against viewing the upcoming test against Argentina as a mere warm-up ahead of the big clashes with New Zealand. The Boks face Los Pumas in Buenos Aires on Saturday night.
Especially very passionate and gutsy when they play in Argentina, and especially in Buenos Aires. It was always been, when we come here, a story of being able to grind it out right until the end. It's never easy. So you come to Argentina with a mentality of seeing it as a start or as a warm-up. I think that's a big mistake.
Meanwhile, the Stormers will provide a little starter to the Greatest Rivalry tour. They're hosting the All Blacks in their tour opener on Friday night, and the Cape side is relishing the opportunity. Here's Stormers assistant coach Rito Klongwane.
This is a game that, everyone's really excited about, So, it goes back down to the things that we really value as a club, hard work, physicality. So those are the same things that we're going to challenge the boys to sort of present come Friday.
And that's how we wrap today's News Bite. For developments in these and more, keep an eye on eNCA.com and DSTV channel 403.